You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast-quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to another episode of Get Lean and Lit with Lindy. This is the podcast for women 40 plus who are done with fad diets, done with punishing nutritional plans, crazy boot camp workouts designed by 23-year-old fitness influencers, and women who are ready to get strong, get healthy, and live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle while maintaining sanity, which is critical. Okay. So I'm your hostess with the mostest. I'm Lindy. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that is hitting women in midlife like just an unwanted pop-up ad. We're going to be talking about prediabetes today. And the reason I picked this topic to talk about today is because a couple of my very, very, very good friends actually got diagnosed with prediabetes just out of the blue at their annual checkups. And I just thought it would be a good topic to address because they were taken so off guard by the diagnosis that I thought, they didn't even see it coming. This is something we definitely need to talk about and warn people about. And if you in fact have been diagnosed with the same thing, I want to give you some hope and give you a roadmap to how to get out of that category before it actually turns into type 2 diabetes. So that's the motivation for today. It's a serious topic, but it's by no means a final verdict or a death sentence, anything like that. It sounds a little scary, but we're gonna walk through it. So if you recently got lab work back and saw the words elevated glucose or insulin resistance or something to the effect of your A1C is creeping up, and your first reaction was probably going to be, excuse me, I had a side salad last Tuesday. I get it. Trust me, I get that. Because a lot of women over 40 are shocked by this diagnosis. They're not shocked because they're eating perfectly. Let's not get that twisted because nobody is. Nobody's perfect. They're shocked because many women genuinely are trying their best to be healthy, pulling all the levers. They're walking, they're doing yoga, they're eating fiber, eating oatmeal, they're buying low-fat Greek yogurt, those sorts of things, saying no to bread baskets when you go out to dinner, no to excess alcohol. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing right as women over 40. But then boom, you could get a prediabetes diagnosis out of nowhere. So today we're going to unpack actually what is prediabetes, why it becomes more common after we turn 40 and as we age. We're going to talk about what's happening hormonally and metabolically, what actually helps the condition, and what does not help the condition. So nope, the answer is not just surviving on cauliflower dust and a prayer. That's not what we're talking about. We're going to actually talk about some real world things that you can do to either reverse this diagnosis or not get it in the first place. So we're going to start with, as we always do, what is prediabetes? Let's break it down. So a simple definition, prediabetes means your blood sugar is running higher than normal, but not yet high enough to officially be considered type 2 diabetes. Usually this is measured through a test that's called an A1C test, which estimates your average blood sugar over the prior 3 months before you take the test. So personally, I get this test every year at my annual checkup, and I encourage you to do the same because you want to make sure that your A1C is in the healthy range. So a normal A1C reading is below 5.7. So to be diagnosed with prediabetes, you'd have to have an A1C that falls in a range of 5.7 to 6.4. And to actually be diagnosed as a diabetic, a type 2 diabetic, your A1C must be 6.5 or above. So here's the tricky part about this, and it's kind of scary too. Prediabetes often has no symptoms, zero symptoms, like none. So you can mostly feel okay. You can function just fine. You can even be active and reasonably healthy, yet still have insulin resistance brewing in the background. Kind of like a passive aggressive coworker, just somebody just brewing in the background and you have no idea. So I've had several women, like I said, I've known recently that have been diagnosed with prediabetes. So this is the emotional part for so many women because many women hear prediabetes and immediately picture people who drink gallons of soda pop, eat fast food every day, eat candy bars for breakfast, that type of lifestyle. And then they look at themselves and they think, that's not me. And honestly, for many women over 40, the issue is often less about obvious junk food consumption and more about aging, hormonal shifts, muscle loss, chronic stress, poor sleep, chronic dieting, and ultimately decreased insulin sensitivity. So it's important to keep in mind that your body at 25 is not the same as your body at 52. At 25, you could eat a whole pizza at 11 o'clock at night, and you could wake up looking hydrated, looking fly, and feeling refreshed with no issues. If you try that at 52, you're going to wake up looking like a fluffy biscuit with new pockets of inflammation. I mean, it's just different. It's sad. It's really unfair, but it is what it is. So we have to deal with reality. Okay, it's time for my first story time of this episode. You guys know I love my story times. So I have a friend that I play pickleball with. We've become good friends because we both are pickleball addicts. I'm going to call her Denise. So Denise walked every single day. She rarely ate dessert. She was not overweight by medical standards, but she was really exhausted all the time. She's really tired. She could really only play pickleball in like 15-minute bursts of time before she needed an extended break. So we were talking about her last doctor's visit, and she shared with me that her labs came back and that her A1C was at 5.9. So she was totally stunned when she got that result. Long story short, it turns out that Denise had lost significant muscle mass over the years. She never slept. She kind of had insomnia. She said she slept horribly. She lived on what's known as healthy carbs and barely ate protein. And she had stress levels that were through the roof, pretty much generated by being in a generation of having to take care of kids and having to take care of parents. She thought she was being healthy because she was eating things like low-fat granola bars. She was eating yogurt, flavored type of yogurt, not Greek yogurt. But metabolically, her body was struggling. For aging women, unfortunately, this is incredibly common. It's an incredibly common set of circumstances. So that's kind of what brought us here today and why I want to talk about this. So, lovelies, this is where muscle becomes the star of the show. Y'all know I love to talk about building and maintaining muscle. That's like one of my favorite things to talk about. This is just another example of why that matters so much as we age. Muscle is metabolically active tissue. It helps soak up glucose, literally soaks up glucose from your bloodstream. But after 40, especially during and after menopause, so really probably after 50 and beyond, women naturally lose muscle mass unless they actively work hard to maintain it. Okay? Let me say it one more time for people in the back. If you do not actively work to maintain and grow muscle in your body, the muscle will be lost. So, why does this even matter? What actually happens? The less muscle you have, the more insulin resistance you will experience, which ultimately means you'll have more abdominal fat and higher blood sugar levels. Many women respond by eating even less, trying to control this phenomenon, which often makes things worse. Why does this make it worse? Because now your metabolism starts to slow down, your muscle loss accelerates even more, and your cravings increase and your energy tanks. So you can see it's a vicious cycle. It gets real ugly real quick. This is why I'm constantly preaching that women over 40 have to stop obsessing about getting smaller and start focusing on getting stronger. We're not here to get skinny. At this point, we're trying to maintain muscle and get stronger. So, what actually helps? Now that I've laid the groundwork for what prediabetes is, let's talk about some actual solutions. So I'm not talking about hacks. I'm not talking about detox teas because, I don't play with any of that stuff. We're talking about things that are real, things that are actionable, stuff that you can start to do right now, today. Number one, you probably can guess. If you listen to my podcast, you already know what number one is. Number one is strength training. If you do just one thing as a result of this episode, please go build yourself some muscle. Please. There are a lot of ways you can go about it. You can find a free program online, you can hire a personal trainer, or you can just put your own program together. It is not that hard to do. And nope, you don't have to become a bodybuilder. Don't come at me. But you have to start. If you're already doing weight training, you have to lift increasingly challenging weights consistently. I'm telling you, it's a total game changer. Muscle improves insulin sensitivity dramatically. So muscle is like your health insurance. So you have to fight for it, period. Number two is protein. Protein. Women over 40 are notoriously known for undereating protein. Nope, I'm not talking about a handful of almonds and positive thinking. That is not enough protein. Why do I harp on protein so much? Next to weight strength training, protein is probably my number two thing that I harp on a lot. But why do I harp on it so much? Because protein helps preserve muscle. It manages your hunger. It can stabilize your blood sugar, and it helps improve recovery. Most women need significantly more protein than they think they need. Please learn how much protein you as an individual are consuming every day by tracking it either on an app, writing it down on a piece of paper, in a notebook, whatever you need to do. But track how much protein you're eating currently. And if you are not eating 1 gram of protein per your ideal body weight, then you have work to do. For example, if you want to weigh 150 pounds, or if you do already weigh 150 pounds and want to maintain your weight, you have to eat 150 grams of protein every single day. Not on Monday and Friday. I'm talking about Monday through Sunday. This is what you have to do. Figure out how much protein you need and figure out ways that you can eat that amount of protein. Whether it's through Greek yogurt, whether it's through tofu, whether it's through chicken, fish, beef, pork, milk, cheese, cottage cheese. There's a lot of different protein sources out there. You have to find the ones that you like and put together a meal plan that allows you to eat between 30 and 35 grams of protein every time you eat a meal. And then when you have a snack, that should be protein focused as well. It's really not that hard once you sit down and figure out a handful of things that you like to eat, like maybe have 3 or 4 breakfasts that you like, 3 or 4 lunches, 3 or 4 dinners, snacks, whatever it is, get your list together. What's easy for me is I have the same breakfast every single day, and I have for a long time. And I know how much protein is in it. I know how much carbs are in it. I know how many grams of fat. I know exactly what the macros are for that breakfast. I have it every single day and I love it. It's a good breakfast. So find what works for yourself. It's critical. Number 3, fiber. Fiber is really the unsung hero of metabolic health. It really is. I did a whole podcast on fiber last week. So if you haven't heard that one yet, go check it out. It's good. It has good information in it. Maybe I'm biased, but I think it's a very good topic to cover if you're not very well versed on your fiber. Why do I care about fiber so much? Because fiber helps slow blood sugar spikes. It improves fullness. It supports your gut health, which is very, very important, and it lowers cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, you should work on increasing your fiber. If you don't have high cholesterol, you should still work on increasing your fiber so that you never get high cholesterol. Most women are not getting anywhere near enough fiber in their diets. So honestly, if fiber had a publicist, it would be the biggest celebrity in wellness. Next to protein, fiber is the real MVP. So get into it. Figure out what your fiber goals are. Figure out what you're eating on a daily basis for fiber and get to where you need to be. Most women should be between 25 and 35 grams of fiber a day, minimum. Number 4, walking after meals. I also did a podcast on this because this is a critical thing you can do that's very easy to incorporate into your life and into your daily habits. This one is wildly, wildly underrated. A simple 10 to 15-minute walk after meals can help lower post-meal blood sugar. It requires no supplements. You don't have to have matching activewear. You can wear whatever you got on. You could walk in your pajamas if you want to. All you need is comfortable shoes. And when you walk, the beauty of walking is your muscles are contracting over and over and over again for that 10 or 15 minutes. And they're acting as a sponge to soak up the glucose, the sugar, out of your bloodstream so that you don't have to have insulin secreted to get the sugar out of your bloodstream, if you're following me. Okay, so now it's time for my second story time. I'm going to tell you about a good friend of mine. I'm going to call her Maria. I never use anybody's real name. I'm calling her Maria. So Maria is 58 years old. Her A1C has been steadily climbing over the last decade. She assumed that she needed to do more cardio, so she started taking longer and longer walks during the day. She added spin class. Then she added more dance cardio videos that she found on YouTube. She was doing everything to kind of get her heart rate up, thinking that's what she needed to do to bring her A1C down. She was exhausted and she was hungry from doing all this cardio. And she still saw zero improvement in her A1C. It was still climbing. So she called me to troubleshoot. And you already know what I said. I said, you have to start lifting weights and you have to increase your protein. Those are the 1 and 2 priorities that she has to focus on. So she gave it some thought and she finally started to do resistance training a couple of times a week. So she didn't do anything extreme. She wasn't trying to become Wonder Woman or a bodybuilder. And within about 3 months, she was feeling a lot stronger. She had much better energy. Her waist was shrinking and she had improved labs. So this was not a case of her not punishing herself. It was a case of her supporting her metabolism better. So I encourage you all to do the same. Now let's move on to talk about what does not help when you're diagnosed with prediabetes. What does not help in this situation? So let's take a minute to clear a few things up. Here's exactly what you should not do. Crash dieting is number 1 there, because it usually backfires. So starving yourself is not good, obviously. Doing endless cardio with zero strength training can actually increase stress. Your cortisol is going to go through the roof and it can increase your hunger. So that is just not the way to go. You have to have a balanced way of eating, not crash dieting. The other thing is trying to be perfect absolutely backfires. And why, you may ask? It backfires because no one is perfect and no one is able to be perfect, especially on this health journey. You have to give yourself some grace. It's not about becoming a clean eating robot. It's really about becoming metabolically healthier over time. So consistency. Okay, so here's my last story time for this episode. I want to talk about my favorite aunt who most definitely will remain anonymous, or I might get disowned by my family members because I have several aunts. So I'm going to call this Aunt Gail. Gail got diagnosed with prediabetes and called me in a panic to tell me about how stressed out she was about this diagnosis. So she immediately cut out carbs. She cut out all bread, fruit, pasta, rice, desserts, basically all the joy in life. She cut that out of her diet. So for the next 2 weeks, of course, she was totally miserable. Then one evening, she screwed up, her words, not my words, and binged on crackers and peanut butters while standing at the kitchen sink at 10 o'clock at night. Lord, because extreme restriction is hard to sustain, she felt like a failure, point blank. So I had to talk her off the ledge, and she cautiously now shifted to eating more protein, adding just 2 sessions of strength training a week. She made sure she had vegetables at every meal, and she added a 15-minute walk after lunch and a 15-minute walk after dinner. So she focused on doing these things consistently. That was her goal. Not trying to be perfect, because I told her nobody's perfect. Don't even focus on being perfect, but try to be consistent as you can. Life happens. Life is life. So sometimes you're not going to be able to do all these things, but when you can do them, try to do them as consistently as possible. Her numbers slowly improved without turning her life into nutritional punishment. So that's the goal that I think we should all chase. We have to live our lives in a reasonable way and in a sustainable way. That's what we have to try to shoot for. That's the goal. So let me say this. If you or someone close to you has recently been told you have prediabetes, I really want you to hear this clearly. This is not a moral failure. It's really just data. It's information. And in many cases, it's reversible or highly improvable with sustainable lifestyle changes. So we're not talking about perfection. We're not talking about punishment. We are not talking about living in fear. We're not talking about becoming obsessed with this type of diagnosis. You don't have to eliminate every single carb. You don't have to hate your body into being healthy. You simply, and I'm saying simply, it's not easy, but it's simple. You simply need muscles. You need to build your muscles up. You need nourishment, movement, sleep, consistency, and patience. These are the things that are going to get you out of the situation that you may find yourself in. Remember, midlife health is not about shrinking yourself. It's definitely not for the weak or the faint of heart either. It's for the strong queens, the strong lovelies that we are. It's for us. It's about supporting yourself. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about loving yourself. And lovelies, this is a very different energy to have. So let's get into it, okay? So thanks for hanging out with me today on the Get Lean and Live with Lindy podcast. And if this episode has helped you, send it to a friend who's currently side-eyeing her lab work and Googling, does oatmeal cause prediabetes? So if you enjoyed the show, subscribe, leave a review, and come back next week, and we'll keep getting stronger together, healthier, leaner, and hopefully holding on to our sanity together. Until next time, keep it real, keep it consistent, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Boom! I just earned a $600 bonus with an Old National Bank checking account.
You got this.
I do?
Earn up to a $600 bonus when you open an eligible checking account and complete qualifying activities. Old National Bank. Just another reason to get old.
Can you say bonus?
Were you counting on a personal care assistant or autism provider who is no longer able to provide services for your child this summer? Don't panic. The Minnesota Department of Human Services just finished an urgent statewide effort to make sure providers of high-risk Medicaid services fully comply with state requirements to provide quality care. The department recently completed a top-to-bottom compliance review of almost 5,600 providers of high-risk services, including personal care assistance and autism programs. If your child's provider was disenrolled, it is time to be proactive. Let me ask you a question. Does your child have a case manager? They usually can help you find a new provider. If your child does not have one, the department will be reaching out to you directly to make sure you know how to find someone new. Understand what's happening and how to get help at mn.gov/DHS/find-care.
Hi, it's easy to just make an ad that tells you to quit smoking. See?
Action!
Easy as that!
Sure is! Yeah!
But let's be real, quitting is hard. It's messy, frustrating, but every struggle is actually a victory. At Quit Partner, you get free tools from people who get it. We're not going to tell you it's easy, just that when you're ready, you've got a partner to help you get it done.